Okay, welcome everyone.
Unmuted.
Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining. So we're holding now, we're going to conclude, even though I really would be great if we can learn the Rebbe's Sikha on Tisha B'Av, Shechal B'Shabbos, but I want to have a Dvar Shalom, a complete thing, so I want to complete the Parshas Balak thing that we had spoken of, that we learned in the last, I think, 3 shiurim. So this will be the last one on that. And so we left off over here, and in basically by Perek Yud, we were learning that the significance and the importance. And the Rebbe says that these 3 weeks now, when we're living in our times that we're living now, the only good of it is for a few reasons. First of all, from the idea that it comes out on Shabbos, that's one thing. But the closer we get to the Geula, the less you feel the negative and the more you feel the positive of these times. And even more, he says, now that we have already all the Hizgalos and all the revelation that's been happening in the year of that year, Tafshin Aleph, Shnas Aren Neflois, and the Rebbe says over here in the Sikh, we have already Gilui HaMashiach, we're already beginning to live in Aschalas Yamois HaMashiach. So if that's the case, like what's there to, of course we're supposed to only see these days just as a powerful yearning for the third base of English. And therefore he said that even the minog that has been going on already for a while, that we should learn, or spend the 3 weeks learning about the Beis HaMikdash, needs to be upgraded, and upgraded in two ways. Number one is that when we're learning it not with a feeling of darkness and heaviness, or even a desire to fix a problem, but just with a pure, in other words, there's no negative there at all in order to fix. It's just pure, positive excitement for the third Beis HaMikdash. That's number one. Number two is that we're learning it with a feeling that it's halacha l'maisa, meaning it's not something distant, but it's something that it's halacha for us, mamish. And he says it's similar to the learning about in Yana Geula Mashiach that has to be done in a way that we realize it's halacha l'maisa. No, I'm sorry, that in Yana Geula Mashiach, is we need to learn not only as a segula to bring Mashiach, but rather as a method in which we can walk into the days of Mashiach and actually live the Geula. By learning it, it will affect our mind, and from our mind it will affect our emotions, and from our emotions it will affect our behavior. Okay, so now in Sif Yud, I don't remember if we learned Sif Yud or we didn't learn, maybe I just started explaining it. The Rebbe says we can now add and explain the need and the quality and the Maila, the quality of learning Torah in regarding Mashiach and Geula and the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi, like to serve as the entranceway to the days of Mashiach. Chazal say that Mashiach comes behesach hadas, and the Rebbe says behesach hadas cannot mean we divert our attention and we don't think about it, chas v'shalom, because but rather it doesn't mean not thinking about Mashiach. Rather, it means that it reaches a place within us, it touches us so deeply, it's such a deep core place that's higher than our reason and understanding. That's the idea of Hesach Hadas. Hesach Hadas means higher than Das. And how do we do that? We first bring it into our Das, and once it enters into our Das, and it becomes so powerful and so strong, that it begins to consume us completely. Our entire identity becomes consumed with Mashiach. But first it starts with Das. And what's the Das? Das means studying, learning, and contemplating. And the Rebbe says the first thing that we need to contemplate, the first thing that we need to contemplate, was in addition to learn all the Geshmak and Yanim about Mashiach, there's so much Chassidus and so many great things about Mashiach, but even more and primal than that is to learn and to contemplate that we are actually living at the beginning days of the Yemais Mashiach. That is important. Leida ulahakir, to know and to recognize that we are standing already kabachnis Yemais Mashiach, and that we did already tshuva and we finished all the Yanei Avodah B'Shleimus. This is so opposite than the regular feeling that people have. That we still have to do stuff. We don't have to do anything. Everything is done. The Rebbe says somewhere else that we have to do a special avodah to be Megala Mashiach. But in terms of more mitzvahs, do mitzvahs because that's what we'll do after Mashiach comes. But the idea that we have something to be mashla, no, that's done already. And that needs his baininess, it needs contemplation. But Negei L'Poil, the Rebbe says, regarding to actuality, he says, we see literally that after all the shturim, meaning after everything I am storming and I'm trying to get through to the Jewish people, to Chassidim, and to everybody, that we are now standing at Safa Giyula. After we've seen all these neflois, the Rebbe says, that indicate that this is the year Sheshana Shemelech HaMashiach Niglu, by the year that Mashiach is being revealed. We're seeing, it's amazing. We're seeing that Rebbe says that I'm hitting a brick wall. As kimt unshver, it's difficult to penetrate this recognition and this awareness that we're standing at the threshold of the days of Mashiach, literally, that to the point that people should start living that way. I'm finding that it's not that I'm getting. The Rebbe is saying I'm getting resistance. So the Rebbe says, and the Rebbe gives a reason why. What's the reason? So in addition to the fact that Nebuch people are trapped in their own galus hapnimi, even though the world, the cosmic realm on the outside is already moving into Mashiach, it's possible that a person is still in a self-imposed trapment. That's galus pnimi. But there's another inyan that Rebbe says. It's lacking in the arenu neflais. That means even though we're shnas arenu neflais, and the Rebbe pointed out to big wonders and incredible things, but still the Rebbe says it's lacking in arenu neflais. Why is it lacking in arenu neflais? Because the year, he says, is neflois erenu. If you take the year Tavshin Nun Aleph and you spell it the way, and you make an acronym, a Rosh Tevis, in the proper way it's written. Tav means tia, it should be. Shin is shnas, a year. And then Nun is neflois. And then Aleph is arenu. So the arenu comes after the neflois. So the Rebbe says, and the other thing, so that's, arenu neflois means that there has to be, I will show wonders. So the I will show you needs to be before the wonders. We'll see in a minute what that means. And the second thing is who's the I that will show? The I that will show is the Eibishter. The Eibishter himself is the one that has to show the wonders. So the Rebbe says, even though we've seen incredible wonders this year, the problem is twofold. Number one, it's not been shown through by the Eibishter himself. Meaning the Rebbe says, by the end of the means it has to be shown by the Eibishter himself, not even through a Navi. It has to be shown by the Eibishter. So it's missing in the arenu, that the arenu has to come from Hashem, and so far, maybe the Eibishter sent it through a Navi to reveal it, which is the Rebbe, and so on and so forth, but it has to be displayed mamish by Hashem himself. Number two is that the neflois, the wonders, the way it's happening, the Rebbe says, is that there are things that are happening, and people don't pay attention to them, and then someone has to come. In this case, the Rebbe is referring to himself. We have to explain how what we are seeing is really neflois. So every time that happens, when you tell a joke and then you have to explain the joke, even if you explain it well and it's maybe funny, but you've kind of lost the power of the delivery. And that is true in everything. Once you have to explain something and it's not obvious, it's not as powerful. Because in other words, it's coming through your bina, it's not going through your chachma. It's coming through your shmiya, through your hearing, and not coming through your riyah. And when you see it, l'chatchila. So there has to be miracles that from the very second we see them, we see, wow, this is an incredible miracle. Wow, it's like at that, immediately we see that, as opposed to when you need to have interpretations and explanations. So the Rebbe says it's lacking still. And because it's lacking still, perhaps that's the reason why the people are not really getting into Mashiach spirit, even after all this that I've been saying and talking and inspiring and making, it's still not hitting home. Oh, but what should we do? The problem, to leave it like this, the Rebbe says, we can't leave it and say, okay, it's the problem. There has to be an eitzah. What's the eitzah? The eitzah is through limud haTorah, b'inyane Mashiach v'Geulah. When we will learn Torah about Mashiach and about Geulah, like we're doing tonight, then it will cause a change. Why will it cause a change? Because it's Bekoyach HaTorah, it's the strength of the Torah, which is Chachmas Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Eibishter's Chachma, that is beyond the world. L'shanois teva ha'adam, it can change a person's nature. So even if we have a deeply stubborn Golustig mentality, a deeply stubborn Golus resistance that we just stuck in the status quo, and we say that's our nature, Torah could be meshana the nature of the person. That even if one's own hergish, one's own sense, a person chas v'sholem is to be found outside of the Geula. As I mentioned last week, the Rebbe refers to the Geula as standing at a threshold. And when a person is not standing in the or even if you're standing in the threshold but you're looking the other way, it's as if you're outside, right? So since the person hasn't gone out yet out of the Golus, and therefore he's stuck stuck, but through the Nyane Limud HaTorah, Nyane Geula, this is going to elevate the person, and it's going to elevate you to be in a different headspace. And once you're in a different headspace, you'll end up being in a different heart space. And in a from a different heart space, you'll be in an entire different physical space regarding one's actions. That's it. This is the remedy. Another remedy we don't have. So what should we have been doing the last 27 years? Poring over these sichas until every child should know them by heart. Like they know Tanya by heart. This should have been our Shulchan Aruch for the last 20 so years. Maybe by some people it was. By me it wasn't. But it should be. And since I'm learning it, it's igniting a fire inside of me. And it should ignite a fire inside every single one of us, hopefully. That's the idea. Then we can start living Giyuladik. How and why living Giyuladik? The Rebbe says, from a deep awareness, a deep knowledge, recognition, and feeling that Mashiach is mamish coming. Okay. And now the Rebbe connects it to something really interesting in Pirkei Avos. I'm sorry, I'm just going to get a little water. Just give me a second. By the way, I'm a little exhausted because I might make the share a little shorter, also finishing. I gave today a class for 3 hours and 45 minutes, an empty room over here, but I gave it for the sake of the online audience. It's opening up our eyes, part number 2. So it's basically this part number 1 I did on Sunday, and this part number 2. And it's a 3-set. The other class that I gave on Sunday was called Lubavitch Rebbe Uncensored. So I really think it's a great thing for everybody that's listening to this class to spread those 3 classes, because it really, I think, summarizes all the current events that has been going on in the last, while, and everything I've been saying, and I don't know, based on the sichas, which I think is just really, really amazing how it all comes together. When you take all of that and you take these sichas, then at least for me it comes alive, and I believe hopefully for others as well. So if we can spread that. But anyways, I just put me a little bit into a different zone. Anyway, so the Rebbe is connecting it over here, this whole Indian, to Pirkei Avos of that Shabbos. It's not the Pirkei Avos of this Shabbos. This Shabbos, I think, is going to be the 3rd parak. This is the 6th parak of Pirkei Avos. Over there, the Mishnah says as follows. The Mishnah says, Shano Chachamim B'Lashon HaMishnah. The parak Shishi in Pirkei Avos begins that the Chachamim learned B'Lashon HaMishnah. What does that mean? We know there is Mishnah, and that's what Rabbeinu HaKadosh organized, Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, Rabbeinu HaKadosh. And then in addition to Mishnah, after Mishnah there is what's called Brisa. Brisa is also from the same time period as Mishnah, and it is from the same teachings of the sages of the Mishnah. It's only that these are teachings that did not pass through the Beis Medrash, the Rabbeinu HaKadosh, that he should filter it and take it and select it as being part of the Mishnah. So therefore, it remained teachings that either was never brought to his attention, or maybe it was brought, but it was not integrated into Mishnah. So therefore it remained outside. So it's considered just a one notch lower than a Mishnah. It's called Brisa. Brisa actually means outside. Now usually the style of the Brisa, what Rebbe did in Mishnah is that he concentrated it to be the least words possible, to make it very concise. Brisa is a little bit more elaborate, it's longer. However, the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, so Pirkei Avos, Ethics of Fathers, really only has 5 prakim, 5 chapters. But they went and they added a 6th chapter. The 6th chapter is Brisa. But yet, it opens up Shanu Chachamim B'Lashon HaMishnah, that even though it's Brisa, the Chachamim learned it in the language of the Mishnah. And this is an introduction to the entire perek of the 6th perek of Pirkei Avos. Now, then, as continuation to that statement, the Mishnah begins, Remeir says, Kol ha'osek b'Torah lishma, if someone learns Torah for the right way, Zoichel Dvarim harbe, the person merits many things. If you learn Torah lishma, you merit many things. The Rebbe asks a few questions. Number one, and then it goes on to tell you seemingly the many things that a person is Zoichel. It goes through like a whole bunch of amazing things that someone who learns Torah lishma is going to merit to have these powerful powers and qualities and so on. The question, however, is why is that introduction phrase that the Chachamim taught in the Lashon of the Mishnah, taught a Brisa in the Lashon of the Mishnah, in the language of the Mishnah, why is that a chelik of Mishnah Aleph? That seems to be an introduction to the entire perek. So it should be like Kol Yisroel Yeshtam Chelik L'Olam Haba, like we say, which is an introduction to Pirkei Avos. It's not part of Pirkei Avos. It's introduction to it. So this should have been like its own heading, and then it should start Mishnah Aleph, Reb Meir Omer. That's the actual Mishnah. So the Rebbe says from this that Shana Chacham B'Lashon HaMishnah, B'Lashon HaBraisa, take the Braisa B'Lashon HaMishnah, is actually related to what Reb Meir is saying. Okay, so we need to find out what's the connection to specifically to the teaching of Reb Meir that if you learn Torah Lishma, you merit many things. So what's the connection? The second thing we need to the other question the Rebbe says in each one of these teachings, when it says Shana Chacham B'Lashon HaMishnah, the question is, so Rabbeinu HaKadosh was Masader the Mishnah, set up the Mishnah. He didn't set up the Brisa as part of the Mishnah. So each one is separate. Brisa has its place, and Mishnah has its place. What's the content of doing a merger? Basically, what we're doing in this parak is that we're merging. We're connecting Brisa to Mishnah. The Rebbe says, what is the significance in that? If Brisa is meant to be Brisa and Mishnah is meant to be Mishnah, each one has its own parameters. What is the accomplishment of taking Brisas and merging them with Mishnah? That's the second question. Question number 3. We just stated that this is going to be Brisa B'Lashon HaMishnah, that the Brisa is going to be stated in the words of the Mishnah. Now, the general uniqueness, as mentioned earlier, of Mishnah is that it's very concise with its wording. Now, if so, you would expect that when Reb Meir starts to speak, it's going to be extremely concise. Yet we find that it's not. It seems to be more Brisa-diga language. Why? Because Reb Meir should have just said, if you learn Torah Lishma, then you are Zaycheh to so, and so. What does he have to say L'Dvarim Harbe to a lot of things? Well, if you're going to read the whole list, you'll see it's a lot of things. I don't know how many things. It's like 30 things that he lists over there, 20, 30, I don't know. It's a lot. So then why do you have to tell me that's redundant? It's unnecessary. Not redundant, but it's unnecessary. That's if you like talking. But that's more Brisa style than Mishnah style. So why would you say Zoichel Dvarim Harbe, and instead of omitting that and just saying Zoichel to so and so? So in Perek Yud Beis, the Rebbe says, what's the Nekuda? And this is Gavaldik. This is so Gavaldik. The Rebbe says the Brises were taught, as we said earlier, outside of the Beis Medrash of Rabbeinu HaKadosh. That's why they're called Brises. It's outside. Which means that their darga is lower than Mishnayos. That's why they're called outside. But they're still a chelik of Torah. And they have all the power of Torah, which was given at Har Sinai. Right? So Braisa represents things that are of a lower element of Torah, yet because they're Torah, they're part of what was given at Sinai. And this is what the Rebbe says is mudgish, is emphasized b'chlal Masechtas Avos. That Masechtas Avos begins, the opening of Masechtas Avos begins with the transmission of Torah. Now, Moshe Rabbeinu received the Torah from Sinai, and he gave it to Yeshua but then it says, "Vehemidu talmidim harbe." It goes till the Anshe Knesset Agdola, and then it says the Anshe Knesset Agdola. What did they say? They said that you should establish many talmidim. Okay. So the idea of establishing very talmidim means try to bring in as much as you can. Many talmidim means a lot of students. Don't be very, 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 very narrow and selective. Allow the Torah to include as much, right? So therefore, at the conclusion of Pirkei Avos, what are we doing? As part of that, teaching, Vehemidu Talmidim Harbe, is that we try to bring in the Braisas which were taught outside of the inner circle. These two, and really, when we say Braisa in the broader sense, it means everything that was taught outside. That means all the later Chidushim that were added on, all the novel Torah thoughts that are going to be added on throughout all of history. As Chazal say, that every teaching or every novel Torah thought that is brought about through a student, Talmud Vasik, is given to Moshe Sinai. In other words, all that is attached. And we're saying that, and so that's what we're saying, Shanu Chachamim B'Lashon HaMishnah, that everything from all the Torah from the future, it really has the quality of the Mishnah. Even more in general. In the Braises, the Rebbe says, is included all the Torah that was innovated even Bizman Hazeh, even in our days. And they're also called chutz. Obviously, we understand that. How can we even compare our thoughts to the thoughts of the earlier generations? No, I'm making a mistake. See, I didn't review this today because I was so busy with the other class. I'm sorry. The Rebbe says now in general, no, he's giving another idea. I realized something didn't then. He's saying all of the Torah that was taught Bizman Hazeh, from when Moshe Rabbeinu gave us the Torah until today and yesterday, all the Torah from everybody is all considered Braisa outside compared to the new Torah that Mashiach is going to teach. That's going to be the real inner Torah. The Torah Chadasha Sheme'iti Teitze, the Torah that Hashem himself is going to teach us. Pnimiyas HaTorah, which are the secrets of the Torah, the inner hidden, which is going to be revealed when Mashiach comes. And we know that our Torah that we studied until Mashiach is considered so inferior to the Torah of Mashiach. As it says in the Medrash, the Torah that a person learned in our world, is considered hevel. Is considered silly compared to the Torah of Mashiach. And nevertheless, the Rebbe says, even the Torah that a person learned ba'olam hazeh, which is b'bchinas chutz, chitzaynius, outside, which is the idea of Braisa, is included b'lashon HaMishnah. Is going to be and is on the level of Pnimiyas HaTorah that's going to be revealed when Mashiach comes. In other words, you're right. The Medrash says it's Hevel in terms of its quality. But in terms of the fact that it's divine, it's godly, and the Eibishter is part, that is going to include everything. So the chibur, the attachment of Braisa to Mishnah is huge. It's cosmic. It's taking, number one, the Rebbe says, it's too, if you realize what the Rebbe is saying, it's really two opposite form of attachments. In the beginning, he said that everything that was taught after Mishnah, or even in the time of Mishnah, but it didn't end up in the Mishnah, so it's outside. But it also includes all the Torah that is going to be later revealed, which is inferior to Mishnah. Yet all of that, Shanu Chachamim B'Lashon HaMishnah. The Chachamim are bringing that into the Mishnah. So the later Torah is included in the earlier Torah. Then the Rebbe flips it around, and he says it also means that the earlier Torah, which precedes Mashiach, which is inferior to a very, very, very great degree, even greater than the other difference that we said before, to the Torah of Mashiach. And this is also considered chutz, outside, yet this is also included in the Mishnah, which is the Torah Chadasha that Mashiach is going to reveal. Why? Because the Torah is one Torah. We don't have many Torah. We have one Torah. It's just the degree of revelation varies. How it's revealed, how it is experienced. But the actual Torah is one Torah. And this is what Chazal are also... And so now we understand the content of connecting the Braisa, the outside to the inside. This is also related to Rameya's words, if someone learns Torah Lishma, is Zeichel Dvarim Harbe. Remember we asked earlier, why is this introduction of Rameya Shana Chacham and Blashna Mishnah stated dafka before the Rameya's teaching? As we said earlier, it should have been an introduction to the whole parak, but now we understand. It's particularly connected to the next phrase. When it says Dvarim Harbe, many things, only the Rebbe can think of this. Many things? Many, the true meaning of the word many is infinite. Because if it's finite, it's not really many. Because it's only relative. You know? How much do you have? Right? So you can have $1 million. That's a lot of money. Relative to who? To a billionaire, it's not a lot. To a regular guy, yeah, it's a lot. So when you say Dvarim Harbe, what's that? That's infinite. So the infinite is going to be revealed when Mashiach will come. So the Rebbe says like this, the Dvarim Harbe is not the things that he lists in the Mishnah. When Rameir is going to say that all the things that you Zeicha to, these are an addition. But the Dvarim Harbe, first he says, you're Zeicha to Dvarim Harbe. You're Zeicha to the Bli Gvul of Torah, to the infinite element of the Torah. When is the true infinity of Torah going to be revealed? When Torah Chadasha, when the new Torah, when Mashiach Me'iti, it's going to emerge from God Himself, and therefore you're going to see it's Ein Sof. Which, when you say Me'iti, it's referring to Hashem's very essence, Bli Gvul Amiti. And that's the meaning. If you learn Torah Lishma, even though you're learning it Bizman Hazeh, and even though you're not tapping, you're not probing, you're not understanding, you're not appreciating the infinite element of it, because you're not yet learning Torah from Mashiach Tzidkenu. We're learning Torah in these days when we're very limited. Yet, when we're learning it, since it's one Torah, you're Zeichet Dvarim Harbe. Through the Torah that we're learning now, we're going to be Zochet to the Beli Gevul of Torah. That's going to be when Torah Chadash and Iti Tetzi when Mashiach comes. So, the Rebbe says this idea is the same idea that we were saying earlier. How do you get from outside to inside? Earlier we were speaking that if a person feels himself outside of Mashiach, how will you get into Mashiach? How does someone get pulled in from the outside, from a goal, especially now when we're living during the twilight time, the Bein Hashmashos, between Mashiach and Golus and Geula. So it's each and every one of our choice, in which world we want to live in. So how do we get ourselves out of the Golus world and enter into Mashiach's world? So just like we're saying now in the Mishnah, that by studying Torah Lishma, Zoichel Dvarim Harbe, you're Zoichet to the world of Mashiach. And what happens? Shanu Chachamim B'Lashon HaBraisa, we schlep in the entire Braisa, everybody that's outside, we schlep it into inside, into the Mishnah. So the same thing is in regards to a person's own consciousness and awareness. But even if a person finds himself to be Braisa, to be outside, to be in exile, Chutz, that a person is still distant and far from the Maimadu Matzav of Yemoisa Mashiach, which then is going to be the main revelation and the perfection of Pnimius HaTorah. However, through Limud HaTorah, when you learn Torah, Zoichel Dvarim Harbe, that's going to elevate you, that a person is elevated, Ma'achutz from outside, the Nichnas Lefnim, you go inside. You become so permeated with the Yana Geula, and you're really ready for the Hizgalus of Torah Chadasha Me'iti Tetzi. That's it. It's an amazing idea. how important it is that we learn this and teach it to our communities. We spread it more and more and more. That's the only way we can actually transform the world, bring everybody into Geula. Let's conclude. The Yeratzim v'Ikr, let it be the will that Rebbe says, that we won't have to speak about it and to arouse about people about thinking and contemplating the Mashiach and Geula, and the limud, and about learning Torah and matters of Mashiach and Geula and the third Beis Hamikdash, because Teikef u'miyad, we see already with our physical flesh, Hinei zeh HaMelech HaMashiach ba. We're seeing already how Melech HaMashiach, Hinei zeh, we're pointing with the finger. Hinei HaGeula Amitis Vashleima, here is the complete Geula. Hinei Beis Hamikdash HaShlishi, here it is. We don't have to learn about it. I don't have to contemplate about it because I can see it with my own eyes. Ube Pashtas. In the simple meaning, it means Shabbayom Shabbos Kodesh of the 17th of Tamuz, Parshas Balak. Even before we start reading Parshas Pinchas at the time of Mincha. Sha'az Arenu Neflois, Shnas, in the year of Arenu Neflois, it is already fulfilled the Nevuah in Parshas HaShavua, which we've read already. It says, V'tinasei Malchusei, and his kingdom should be elevated. Tinasei is talking about Mashiach's kingdom should be elevated. Tinasei is the same letters as Tafshin Nun Aleph. So it should be elevated. Shleimus Malchus Beis David, it will be the perfection. Al Yedei, the Darach Koichav Yaakov, through the star that will rise from Yaakov, it comes Shevet Yisroel, and a ruling power will stand up from Yisroel. Mashiach ha'achroin shagoyel Yisroel, the latter Mashiach that redeems the Jewish people b'achroina. Geula nitzche she'en achrei galus, and a complete geula, complete redemption that doesn't have a galus after. Ubehemshach lazen, a continuation to this bomb. Kol prat in Yanosh b'Parshas Pinchas. Then we're going to be able to learn all the Yanosh b'Parshas Pinchas. Pinchas Eliyahu. We have Eliyahu already because he came already. Shekvarasa ba Eliyahu me'esmar lebeis agadol. In a case where the Gemara says regarding to Eliyahu and Masechtas Erevin that he came already yesterday. And then we're also going to have the counting, as in Parshas Pinchas talks about the counting of the Yidden. So it's the 10th count, which we know the 10th count is going to be done through Mashiach. And then we're also going to have the splitting of the land, Eretz Yisrael, but this time, and the Rebbe says why? Because we already completed all the 42 travels of the Midbar, that's referring to now, through the diaspora, through all the nations where the Jews were during the time of exile. And we've already arrived at Yarden Yerechai. And therefore, we're ready to go into Eretz Yisrael, to the other side, from the east side to the west side. And from the other side of the Yarden on the west, we can continue further. We're dividing the entire land with a goyrel to all the Jewish people. Like it's explained further in Parshas Matei Samasi. So all this can actually be materialized, mamish. And then in the end of Parshas Pinchas, what do we have? We have the offering of the karbanos of every day, and the karbanos of Shabbos, and the karbanos of Yomim Tovim, including these days that are going to be converted to days of Simcha, Shavasa B'Tamuz, and 3 weeks, and Tisha B'Av is all going to be a day. We'll be able to offer all these karbanos. Beis Hamikdash HaShlishi, Mikdash HaMkani Yadach. V'loimdim, and we're going to get to learn the new Torah Me'iti Teitzei, Ba'oifen, in a manner of Eileh HaDvarim. The Rebbe is going all the way to Parshas Dvarim, this week's Parsha. Eileh, that we can see it. That we point with our finger and we say, Zel Limud Ba'oifen Shal Riyah, we can see it. V'hoya Einecha Royes Es Merecha, you see your teacher. Yirol Elokim B'tzia, and you see the Eibush there. V'techzen Eineinu B'shuv Chol, and our eyes can mamish see when we return to Tzion. Ki Elokim Yoshia Tzion, because the Eibush there will help Tzion, the Yeshu Shama, we will live over there. Yeshu Yishanim Espanecha, take off a Meyad Mamish. So this, what we learned over here, we can't overstate the importance to shturim the entire world to learn in Yonei Geula Mashiach, because dafka that way can we change our mindsets and our reality and enter into Mashiach. And when we will only do that, then for sure it will happen in the world. Zeir Schnell, Bagola Didan, let it happen now. Okay. It's interesting, after this Chelik of the Sikhi, it says they sang the Niggin on this pasuk, Elokim Yoshia Tzion. No. Which pasuk? Yeah, Elokim Yoshia Tzion. And the Rebbe stood up and he danced with tremendous simcha. And remember, this was on Shavasa B'Tamuz, Shabbos. The Rebbe showing us the way. Big simcha, big joy. That's the way to go. L'chaim, Mashiach now. And a very, 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 very freilich, happy Tisha B'Av to all.